Hello everybody, my name is Kapil Dhiman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Curanium. Welcome to Quantum Minds podcast. And I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Olivia Karlsson, for a wrap-up episode for season 1. We had an amazing season of 8 episodes, interviewing guests from all around the world. And today, who's our guest?
Well, I guess you and me are doing the wrap-up, right? But I'm thinking like these 8 episodes, we're going to be diving deeper into some of the insights that these 8 guests shared. So I guess these 8 guests would be, our guests for today, but
virtual guests.
Okay.
So all the 8 guests are virtual guests today.
Yeah.
So maybe then, should we say that today we are going to dive deeper into what we learned as audience from these amazing guests who took out the time to join us, shared their life journey, shared how they are building. So we'll be talking about literally what are the highlights from all the episodes. And for our viewers and anybody who's joining the Journey of Quantum Minds podcast new, this episode can actually serve as an executive summary for you and really give you a window into what all we achieved in season 1, who all we met, what all we learned from them, and really share those kind of insights with you. And it'll become a very strong precursor of what we're going to do next as well. So something very exciting that we're going to be talking about. So I'm actually excited about, this has been a very interesting journey, this entire season 1. We went around the world, Switzerland, Singapore, Dubai. Where else?
I think those 3.
Those 3?
Yeah.
Okay. We missed out on some episodes, shooting some episodes in India. That's in the book. Hong Kong. Now we are recording this in Hong Kong. So really has been a very, very satisfying experience, I must say. Meeting these outstanding people from different walks of life.
Yeah, there's a lot of diversity to the guests that we had join us. Everything from, MDs in, big institutions all the way down to like entrepreneurs in the crypto space. So I really did like that, as well as, professionals in researching and bringing in that academic flavor. So I think there's going to be a lot to cover in this episode that will be interesting. So we have kind of taken out some statements that have been made during each episode that, at least like for me, I found to be very profound, and we'll kind of like just bounce through each episode and have a bit of a conversation. Literally we went around the world meeting some really fantastic people.
Awesome. Let's get started.
Okay. All right. So the first episode that we shot was out of Dubai with our fellow friend now and advisor, Robin Joffe. And I would like to ask, what was your kind of like key takeaway from this episode? Was there something specific that stood out that you like really brought with you after speaking with him?
Honestly, the first thing about Robin was from the time we met him and that carried forward in during the podcast as well when we were talking to him. For somebody, his experience, like he has seen the world, he's heading Frost & Sullivan in Middle East, Asia Pac, does so much of business, so many clients, like he has a lot of experience with him. But when you spend time with him, he's one of the most chilled out guys out there. And so easy to go with, and still has so much energy in him. Talking with him, like even after achieving so much, he has the same zeal of, being so fresh, feels so young at heart, so energetic, so powerful, understands all the latest trends. So that personality, first of all, was, I think, something very catchy for me. And that's, we got along so well. And I think that reflects in the episode as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, like, for me, meeting Robin for the first time before we even recorded the podcast, we met, like, the day before. And, you know, I'd been a part of Curanium for a couple of months. And just kind of meeting this senior guy that has so much experience and feeling like we immediately could, like, you know, vibe and have deep conversations was really great. So that was kind of like the...
And you both were speaking in Swedish as well. You have some common.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that also, you know, that adds to it, right? So he grew up in the same, I don't know if he grew up there, but he did spend like a few years in the same like area that I was living in for a long time in Sweden. So we were able to kind of, align on a few things. He understands where I come from and the culture. And that's greatly appreciated in a way. And then also, I mean, he has the American side as well. So,
yeah. So I think like very fascinating individual because of the diversity that, you know, and we have had such good conversations about him, about the Japanese ecosystem. He spent so much time in Japan. He understands Hong Kong so well, in the West as well, right? So he brought in that diversity on the show and that was so natural for him. Like throughout the episode, I think we did the entire episode in one cut.
Yeah, literally. And from his journey to his take on AI, I actually loved that the most, on how it is impacting the healthcare and the overall enterprise, because in his career he has seen the journey of these companies and how artificial intelligence is changing the course for these companies now real time. So he has that first-hand experience of emerging technologies changing businesses. So that that decades worth of experience with his own personal cultural diversity, that clubbed together was, I think, very enriching for me. I really enjoyed that piece. Yeah, no, me too. Absolutely. It's a very interesting perspective that he brings to the table. So there's actually a statement that he made, which I kind of like. I mean, especially being a woman in the space, and I mean, all for equality, but there is this pressure to be perfect at times, right? In different ways, professionally, privately. And he said during the episode that perfection is a trap, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I think the first thing is, don't try to make the perfect product.
Okay.
You know, don't try to do that. Try to keep trying. I mean, well, let me just step back for a second. Try to not make the perfect product, right? So that means make mistakes, because you can't learn if you're not making mistakes.
Yeah.
And this is why you see some countries are very successful with technology innovation. I think India is one of them. I think even it's changing. I think in the past, maybe it was not. You need to be, perfection was very, Japan is about perfection. I think they're changing because they're actually realizing, but still, you know, in California, I think it is, you know, investors don't want to invest in somebody that hasn't failed. They want to invest in somebody that's failed because these people know what it takes.
They tried.
And they keep trying. And they keep trying. So
the resilience.
And the resilience is there. I mean, I'm never afraid. When I'm looking at hiring person, I'm kind of like, you know, if you failed at something, that means you know what to look out for.
Which I resonated a lot with. Just knowing that, you know, the more that you can accept where you're standing and kind of how you've managed something, and if there's any shortcomings as well, like the sooner that you can come to an acceptance in that, you know, the learnings are in that, and that's how you grow. So I can definitely see that, just like embracing those mistakes. So yeah, that just made a big difference for me. What do you think about that? Perfection is a trap. Because I know that you have your own thoughts about perfection, so.
Yeah. No, so it makes a lot of sense. And I think over the course of your life, when you are really chasing to build something amazing, and it all starts with identifying your purpose. And if you are clear with that okay, this is my purpose of existence on this planet, then I don't think you will ever be okay with not being perfect. But the journey to perfection or rather, the definition of perfection. There is no definition of what is perfect, right? It's the most subjective word out there. What is perfect for me may not be perfect for you, right? And what is perfect today may not be perfect tomorrow, right? And that's where I think this whole concept of embracing mistakes becomes so relevant, that people should not give up. Life becomes incomplete, and you always fall behind, or you start feeling demotivated when you start giving up, when things starts going out of your hands. It's not in your control. Now, many people, when they define or put a definition to perfection without having the tolerance limit for mistakes, tend to give up in between, tend to start feeling that it may not work out, right? And that's why this whole concept of, embrace mistakes comes into picture. I put it this way because I want, or at least for myself, this is how I like to live my life, and I want people and the listeners to embrace, when mistakes happens, it's fine. But don't be okay with mistakes way too much. It is because you don't give up, right? You should chase perfection, because perfection is the only way to move forward. While you're chasing perfection, while you're chasing greatness, if you make mistakes, don't give up. Don't repeat the mistake again. If you repeat a mistake, then you're really stupid.
Or negligent, or just like not focusing enough, whatever.
Yep. Then you're not carved out for it. Repeating one mistake twice is not acceptable. But yeah, don't give up. Happens because when you are running a long race, you will feel tired. You will take some wrong turns. Come back on the right path, but always keep chasing perfection. There is no other alternative.
No, very interesting. Thank you for sharing, Kapil. And I think I could debate you on this topic for hours. So let's maybe move on. But I think, the bottom line is I have for a very long time been seeking perfection in the way that I do things, my career, things like that. And it's filled with a lot of shortcomings. And you have to be okay and comfortable with meeting yourself and I made such a big effort. This didn't pan out how I expected it. What can I learn from it? Okay, great. Without getting too upset, because somewhere you have an ego as well that you need to be aware of and conscious of. And as long as you maintain that consciousness and you're just, self-aware, and you are also okay with being accountable for your mistakes, taking ownership, that's super empowering, right? So yeah, very interesting. Any last words for, that sounded very depressing. I didn't mean last words, but do you have anything else that you would like to kind of highlight in regards to Robin, or would you like us to move on maybe?
A big thanks, Robin, for because I remember when we shot the episode with you, we were just getting started with the whole concept of doing Quantum Minds podcast. And you really showed your full support. You were the best on the show. You showed, you gave out such good perspective, and I'm sure listeners loved it. So more important than anything, thank you for for all your support since day one. You're amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Robin. Seriously. Okay, so let's move on to our second guest, Mayur Relekar from the Arcana Network. This was also recorded in Dubai, so it was right after Robin, essentially. So very early days. What were your key thoughts about that conversation? Because I remember there being a bit of a shift with Robin. It was very philosophical and things like that. When we spoke to Mayur, it was we went deep into the world of blockchain, right? What are your thoughts to summarize?
I think you put it perfectly. It was a shift of gear with Mayur, and I loved talking crystal clear nuances of onboarding users to the world of crypto. Because with Arcana Network, their focus is like really simplifying onboarding people on crypto. And the discussion which touched upon before and after of the crypto world, the reality of the crypto users, the actual ROI that the users get from coming into the world of crypto, and what is it, how much does experience versus the monetary gain matters, the real life implications of the blockchain and the crypto as an infrastructure as well as a utility. All these things, when we touched upon it, it was very Web3 focused discussion, and he had some great insights because he's seen both sides, right? Quoting him, I remember, is like, I've been in this ecosystem a lot. I have white hair to substantiate that. And but really, really good and targeted episode when it comes to the Web3 world. So I strongly recommend any users who wants to understand this crypto or the blockchain piece of, okay, what is the difference between before and after, and what value actually is being derived entering the crypto ecosystem. This episode is going to add a lot of value to the listeners from that perspective.
Absolutely. No, definitely. I see it the same way. Just giving people a bit of a flavor of the adoption piece, but also just, how the blockchain ecosystem operates in general. So I did really very much enjoy the conversation, and I think I learned a lot during that episode because it did get quite like Web3 based, right?
Yeah.
And that was early on in my Curanium days. So it was really, really good. He had mentioned, and this kind of aligns with what you were saying about adoption in the Web3 space.
Adoption of like crypto or like the Web3 space in general, I think mass adoption is a meme, right? Today, where people keep saying, onboarding the next billion, whereas you really should be thinking about how do I get as a company, how do I get the next 1,000 users? Or my first 1,000, or as an industry, how do we get another million? Because there really aren't that many users in this space. And I think we have to stop firstly thinking of things as a revolution and instead think of it as evolution.
Perfect. Word to word, I think it is the most important thing that most of the projects don't focus on. He put it perfectly, because many times projects will come, okay, my target is 1 million users. Getting the first 1,000 is the biggest pain, because you have to compare, because there's so many projects out there now. Every second day people are launching new projects. So you have to provide that added value, comparative added value, right? So, and the kind of experience, why should the users use your application? The moment you get the first 1,000 users, that's something.
It's like a proof of concept that like, hey, this actually does add value in a way.
Exactly. And from there, the journey should be, I really like the way he put it, grow smart. So I'm a firm believer of growing fast, growing big. So I always try to focus, any strategies around that, grow fast, grow big, and do this smartly. But the way he put it, like growing smart, I think he has a lot of patience-driven approach in the way he's building Arcana, and very, very, very much user-centric. Right? How can we simplify the life of the users and bring people on crypto? I think that is going to create a lot of difference in the crypto industry. Projects like Arcana and founders like Mayur are going to be very instrumental in bringing in the mass scale adoption. Because as we always say, the real value add or the real experience for users in the blockchain and crypto scene will be when they're not even realizing that they're using a blockchain infrastructure.
Exactly.
And using crypto becomes as seamless as using a normal banking app that we do today, and which includes on-ramp and off-ramp. The last part, on-ramp, off-ramp, is there's a lot of regulatory nuances around it. But if I make it like a user-centric discussion and don't talk about the regulatory aspect, if these pieces are taken care of, then the crypto industry wins. Then the blockchain industry wins. Till then, it is going to be seen as, hyper-technical stuff. And, a lot of...
Even from a UX UI standpoint, a lot of the apps even today, I'm just like, I'm not going to quote any any specific company out there, but the apps that I use for on and off ramping and whatnot, it's like, if you're not a major techie, like let's say you're a very curious and intellectual granny, and you want to get into the Web2 or Web3 space. You've been doing Web2 banking your whole life, and even, getting into digital banking was a stretch. And then comes the interfaces of some of these apps. I think that, there's so much room for improvement in a way, which I'm already seeing in a lot of the different applications. So that's, that's of course a positive thing, right? But I think there's a little ways to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I think that episode from a crypto journey point of view is going to add a lot of value to the users. So, do watch out that episode if you want to learn crypto.
Great. Awesome. So, we're going to hop on a plane and we're going to fly to Singapore.
Okay,
right now. So... Obviously, we recorded those 2 episodes, very sort of like instrumental episodes, as well as like, being, the first 2 episodes in a very long journey, right? So we wound up heading to Singapore for business, but then also just to record the podcast. And our first guest in Singapore was Chinta from crypto.com.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a lovely human being, first of all. Was really great just speaking with him, and I love the way that he looks at the blockchain industry. He came with so many punchy points throughout that episode. Do you have anything in particular that stood out to you during that episode that you want to bring up?
A lot, actually. So both the episodes, right, with Chinta as well as the next one that we're going to talk about with Taka.
I know, I wanted to hold that one for later because I'm like, they were both really good. But anyway. So let's start with Chinta.
Yes. No, the reason I mentioned the episode with Taka as well is, so when we started talking with Chinta, we started with it, of course, his journey from a bureaucrat to the private sector. From the public sector to the private sector, the difference, and now even in the private sector with the crypto industry directly, which in itself is looked at as a niche if we look at the industry segmentation today. And we spoke about a lot of interesting things, how crypto.com has now become a name associated with trust, which is the most difficult thing to achieve in the crypto industry, right? With pump and dumps happening all the time, with not so ethical practices by some companies. Achieving that level of trust for such a long time, to me, that was a standout, right? And we started touching upon on that. And speaking with him during that episode, realized that is because of people like Chinta, their philosophies of life, how they are in their personal life, how their mindset is. That's what gets transferred as an energy to anybody that they connect with, and sticking true to their values. And this stands out for me because I remember in the later part of the episode, I started maneuvering outside business and started talking a lot on the philosophical side. And he was like, "Oh, okay, so we have maneuvered." I said, "Yes, sorry, I could not control it." Because his point of view on the philosophical side of things was so interesting, so genuine, and such a humble personality. And when people like that build new age businesses, I think only beautiful things come out. That's what I loved about that episode. And that is the common piece with the episode with Taka, which we'll talk about, right? because I mean, when we start talking about about Taka as well, the discipline, the commitment. We met him today, and like he organized like a jiu-jitsu get together for crypto folks. That's the kind of personality he is. His mindset's so structured
and thinking outside of the box at the same time.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Like small things, become so relevant.
Now we're merging the two anyway.
Yeah. but yeah, again, back to Chinta, because on Taka I have a lot of interesting things that I would love to talk about. But yeah, I mean, like this common theme, like from the Singapore ecosystem, and that's what I took. I wanted to touch upon that because when we shot these episodes and met a lot of other people as well in Singapore, it says something about the culture, right? People who are successful and who are differentiating, they have this common thing, their mindset, their philosophical approach towards life, and how true to their values they are. This is a common theme that I saw in Singapore about people who are at an institutional level also are so successful. So that was a standout for me when it comes to Chinta. And so well articulated, the way he connected business values with personal philosophical values. Loved it. Really loved it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It was a very interesting conversation that took a lot of different directions, but at the same time, like very, there's a lot of structure in the way that he speaks and things like that. So, yeah, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed these 2 episodes that we recorded. I have these statements here, so I'm kind of gonna wrap through them. And this kind of ties into what you said about trust, right? Which I completely agree with. Chinta says, crypto trust matters. Compliance, security, and transparency are key to institutional adoption.
For example, we have a SOC 2, a Type 2 SOC 2 accreditation, which is bank grade security, right? We have ISO certifications for privacy as well as cloud security. Which means we are one of very few digital asset companies which has it, because most just don't bother. But we felt that, hey, you can't just say you're secure. You need to demonstrate to people we are secure, right? So we have invested a lot in this area to build a platform that is compliant and secure. So that's how we got here, right? In terms of like continuing to build trust, I think we will double down. We have a term in the company called our regulatory or compliance momentum. We're going to keep it up. We're going to continue to demonstrate that this no flash in the pan. I think we're way past that. We have gotten so many licenses. People understand that this is not just a short-term push. It's a long-term commitment. But we need to continue to build on our portfolio of licenses and continue to make sure that our platform is safe. And that our users' monies are fine, that they are well protected. So this is a commitment that we have made, not in words, but through actions.
Absolutely, 100%. See, I mean, just look at any long-term successful project in the crypto industry today. It's based on these metrics that are being carried forward from the traditional industries. Compliances, legal structures, being efficient and again being compliant on the taxation side, the way you build an organization. So when the initial pump of crypto started, a lot of casualness was noticed in the crypto companies, and that's when the stigma of crypto being immature started getting popularized, because people will launch a token because of the volatility. Some people will make money, they will flash Lambos, Ferraris. That's not the real crypto industry. That's a selected few who spent money showing a flashy side of their life to satisfy their fake ego.
But it doesn't reflect the utility in any way.
Does not at all. But because the social media popularizes that side more, that stigma started getting associated with the crypto industry at large. And because of which, many people started trying to do that. There's a documentary I saw, I think on Netflix, where exactly this topic was discussed. and somebody pulled a scam, creating a fake Bitcoin exchange back in the day, and this guy then flew off. Somebody saying that he died, somebody saying that he has moved into a different part of the world, now changed his identity. But what it was people, this guy who was the topic of the documentary, he got influenced from people who were flashing their Lambos and Ferraris, making money from crypto, and he wanted that, so he took loan to invest in Bitcoin. And then of course in this documentary it was about a scam. When he wanted to exit, he could just not exit anything. But a lot of people have been losing money because of that as well. Not doing their own due diligence, not following the right business practices, and just getting carried away because of a few scammers in the business. That's not crypto. That's not blockchain industry. Please, that's just not. There is so much utility. There's so much that the blockchain as an infrastructure can achieve.
Lots of
and
substance.
is achieving. Lots of substance, right? But again, social media popularizes flashy parts.
Yeah.
Maybe because retail users at large likes to see the flashy things, and hence the social media kind of picks that up. And that's where this whole concept of being compliant, being true to the legal structures, thinking long term becomes so relevant and is so much well respected and earns the trust. And that's what I think Chinta also highlighted, that achieving that requires, number one, and this is why I wanted to kind of give a contradictory examples of this flashy side, because you have to be, again, mentally strong enough to not get carried away. Even today, when we are building Curanium, we get like 50 suggestions. Okay, this project is doing like this, quicker way to kind of achieve what we want to achieve. Sticking to your values is sometimes very difficult, because then eventually you turn out to be the one standing out of the line. Everybody is following this way. Very few are not following it. So it becomes difficult. So having that kind of mindset, and again a philosophical belief to staying true to values and ethics, that sometimes when you see a world operating like this becomes difficult. But when you do that, it pays off in the best possible way anybody can imagine. When, how, why, all of that get answered on the way.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think the reason why it turns out better for people? Like, let's say, for example, you are super aligned with your values. You know exactly how you want to build something, and where you want to wind up, and who you want to associate with. All of these things you're razor sharp about. And then at the end of the day, things tend to work out, but you can also kind of look back retrospectively and feel like, yeah, I was out in the cold a lot, and there was a lot of uncertainty as well, but at least I knew for sure that I'm doing the right things in alignment with who I am as a person and who I want to associate with, and also the type of company that I'm building, who I'm building it with, things like that. It's like at the end of the day, they look back and they're like, yeah, it was tough. But somehow they succeed anyway because they're like persistent.
Yep.
And they really believe that, as long as I'm true to myself and in alignment, then, the right opportunities won't pass me by.
Yeah.
And the right people aren't going to pass me by either, because they'll see the same, I'll use the word light, or they'll see the same, values in me that they have, and, there'll be a natural match.
So, my way of looking at it has always been very simple. Short term or long term. Whatever you are doing in life, if you're building something as an entrepreneur, you're doing a job, you're into some sports, what is it that you want to build for yourself? Is it something short term, or is it something like long term? If the answer is short term, most of the times you will end up compromising with the value system. You're like, no, it's anyway a short term, like whether it is trading or doing like some short term business here and there. You're like, no, it does not matter. Just it's any which way short term gig. I'll get whatever I want and I'll be out of it. When you start thinking long term, that's when these things starts mattering the most. you start getting a lot of clarity when you're thinking long term. Because then you start realizing, okay, this decision that I'm going to take today, whether it is choosing who to work with, whether it is choosing what kind of strategies I should build, whether it is choosing how I should present myself when I'm out there in the fundraising business, whether it is choosing where do I raise capital from, whose money should I take, whose money should I not take. All of these things, which kind of people do I chill out with, right? All of that starts becoming, okay, any decision that I'm taking right now, I don't just think about it, okay, how is it going to make me feel tomorrow? How is it going to make me feel after a year, after 2 years, after a decade for that
Yeah, it could be a
matter,
decade.
right? So when you start thinking that way, 9 out of 10 times, you will land following or creating, if you don't already have, a good value system and looking at life with a much larger time horizon. And then it becomes like super simple. I have this principle that I like to follow. I call it the 3P rule. Planning, persistence, patience. We do this either in our personal life or in our professional life. 9 out of 10 times, you will not take an unethical decision. You will stick true to your values. You will have much more clarity in what you want to do and how you want to do. Nothing flashy will attract you. You will stay true to your purpose. You will stay true to your job, and you will do well. That's what and that's why I sometimes believe that it is very simple, but for some people who have been, away from philosophical realities of life, it becomes very difficult to practice. But if you sit down with yourself, one thing that I think 98% of the people don't do is they enjoy life, which is good. You've got one life, do everything. They spend a lot of time with amazing social circle, like everything. But one thing that they don't do is spend time with themselves. 15 minutes, 30 minutes a day, sitting alone.
So uncomfortable for many people to hear themselves think.
Yes. But you do that, silence talks the loudest. I strongly believe it. And it's the most beautiful, silence has the most beautiful voice. You sit down in silence, alone, and just have a conversation with yourself. Listen to the environment. And the best thing is, like, if you're doing this closer to nature, listen to the nature, the sound of the wind, the sound of the trees. All those things put so much of sanity in your body. It literally sanitizes your body, if you will, right? It's beautiful. Just giving your own self 15, 20, 30 minutes a day, cutting down every other noise. And if you do that, you get so much more clarity. That's all it takes to get started on this journey of finding your value system.
Yeah, like, am I aligned? No, I can feel that in my whole body that I made the wrong decisions now because it's quiet and I feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
oh, super powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. Coming back to some of our guests, we can move on to Takatoshi from Copper, but he has transitioned now, so he's the head of APAC for Ledger.
Congratulations, Taka.
Congratulations, but at the time he was still at Copper.
Yep.
And this kind of ties into what we just spoke about with Chinta. But Taka basically said that regulation drives adoption. Institutional investors are entering crypto due to regulatory clarity.
Especially in China, there's a lot of these big exchanges like your Binance and OKXs of the world. They established personal relationships with the founders or senior management of the team, and they trust them more than somebody who they never seen before, or like a British company like Copper. So I knew it was going to be a very uphill battle to win their trust and understand the logic of mitigating counterparty risk. It only took FTX to happen for them to finally realize this. So generally, it took me nearly 2 years of that grind to explaining and educating institutional investors that in mitigating counterparty risk is important. But when FTX happened, they understood that and they started coming to us and said, now I understand what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Right.
So similar thing. Exactly. That's why, when I started, I saw like similar traits.
Yeah.
And ties in exactly with the same, line of thought that we just discussed about. Long-term institutional trust comes based on, following the right practices that the traditional industries have always done, whether it is compliances, regulations, and everything, right? But again, for me, it's the same thing, right? About Taka. I remember he saying he does martial arts, plays cello, so structured, well-disciplined. Again, so much sense of clarity. And you get it. You have like a 15-minute conversation with a man like Taka. You will eventually 100% get it. Okay, this man knows his stuff, right? And he is absolutely clear in his thought process. And even his body language. If you see that that episode, the way Taka sits, his voice modulation, his hand movements, everything shows how much clarity he has in his mind, how much respectfully he has control over his mind. And that's the key, right? And then, the kind of business he's building. Back then at Copper, tremendously added value. Now moving on to Ledger, and building the institutional business for Ledger in APAC, and connecting it with the retail base. It's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders, like literally a lot of responsibility that gets built on trust, because Ledger is like it's a wallet that people use to store their money. Very simple, right? Where will I store my money? An infrastructure or a product that I really trust. That their money is going to be safe. So when people like Taka are creating something like this, because of the way they are in their personal life, they drive their day-to-day, their mindset, anything that they build, this translates, this philosophical alignment of their thought process, it translates into the products or the technology that they build. And because of their value system, when they build products like this, even the products become so strong in their essence that millions of people can start trusting them. So this it's like a virus that can that whoever you meet, the energy spreads like a virus. And I strongly believe more and more people like them, when they start building long-term products, that's when this ecosystem is going to achieve its true potential. They are going to be the foundational, they're going to be the foundation of building and making sure that the crypto and the blockchain industry realizes its potential. Mm-hmm. People like them building something, millions of people are going to trust the infrastructure, because these people are never going to compromise their value system.
Yeah,
that's what I learned from the episode with Taka as well as Chinta about how they conduct themselves. That translates into how they build their products. And once again, Taka, congratulations about your new journey with Ledger.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great way to summarize those two episodes. Truly, if we are to see more trust, it is through ensuring that the regulatory systems are in place, but also that, the leadership in these companies have the right value systems, like you said. So I'm with you completely. We're moving on from Singapore, hopping on another plane, heading to Switzerland. So we recorded a couple of episodes in Zurich. Mark Terell, we had a very interesting early morning conversation with. very, very interesting, conversation, as well as, the initiatives that he's involved in. So, instrumental guy in setting up Davos during the World Economic Forum. He also has his own entrepreneurial journey that we spoke quite a bit about. Anything in particular that stood out to you that you'd like to highlight?
The best thing about Mark Terell is his orator skills. A very good orator. So the way he puts his thought across, and I remember, we spoke about, he's like, give me 2 hours, give me any topic, I'll talk about it, no problem. Number one, because he has seen the journey, he has that experience. And number two, he's a very good speaker. Right, so when these two things combine, and that was the biggest highlight that I picked. Of course, his academic experience and what he's building with Davos, bringing people together is the most difficult thing. It's easy from the outside, but it takes a lot of efforts to bring the right set of people together under one roof. And he has been doing it for a couple of years now with Davos. So much respect for that. And I think his strongest suit is connecting with people because of his skill set on his interpersonal skills. So when we spoke about his experience in the AI field, as well as how to get best for the businesses in a place as crowded as Davos during the World Economic Forum. I think that has been a very interesting conversation, how he puts it across and how he speaks in a language that you will understand. That's something very interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. And like a very captivating person as well.
Yeah.
Super, super captivating. And yeah, one of the things that he highlighted, which kind of aligns with what we already spoke about, but he essentially believes that entrepreneurship is a mindset. Success comes from thinking outside of the box and bending reality. And I really like that statement because I truly believe that he embodies it, actually.
But what it means then is that you can't get more real than measurable physical distance. And yet if you change your frame of reference, you get completely different answers.
Wow.
This now means that fundamentally our concept of reality should be broken because all reality is completely relative. Therefore, it's not real. Because of that, it means that if it's not real, then you decide if you're a philosopher or an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, it means you can change everything. You can bend reality. If you look at the great entrepreneurs, they've always bent reality.
He really does have this capacity to see beyond, the possibilities that maybe have been highlighted, as a baseline. And like a very creative way of viewing the world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally. And so just one thing that I would love to add onto that is entrepreneurship is a mindset 100%. But also entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. Why I say that is once an entrepreneur, like if you start really feeling it from inside that, okay, I love building. It's a life choice more than a career choice. It's not a career choice. It's a life choice. Then whatever you will do in life, you will always be an entrepreneur in that. And success then follows. It's an after effect of when you start making a life choice. Again, the definition of success is very subjective, right? But that acceptance coming in makes every difference out there. So a very interesting episode. I really liked his way of connecting the dots as well. Very good. And Switzerland, wow.
Yeah, Switzerland was and has been amazing. I mean, we've set up Cranium's entity now out of Switzerland as well as our node association, but beyond that, just the connections that we've made, the substance in the regulatory systems but also in the people, right? It's like it's reflected across.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see that at face value, and we spent a lot of time there, and there were lots of really good conversations both at Davos, but we also spent some time in Switzerland before Davos. So I think that there's been a lot of things that will transpire in this coming year thanks to the time that we've spent there, because very foundational and meaningful relationships where the synergies are obvious in terms of business, but there's also human beings connecting at a deeper level, right? So I really appreciated that a lot, and we can maybe move on to our second guest in Switzerland, Christian Spahr from Block Spirit. Another incredibly interesting person, and the ability to be able to look at how things can be built, where there may be synergies. I had a lot of interesting conversations with him, and he's become a good friend. He stated that the quantum threat is real. As a follow-up, Bitcoin's encryption could be at risk from quantum computing.
The threat to existing cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin specifically, that you're alluring to is, of course, quantum computers and Shor's algorithm, which could be a potential, security problem, where it could enable you that, given enough developments in the quantum computer industry, that eventually we could, crack transactions and maybe enable people, to find a private key based on a public key. So if I give you my public key, you can just, put that through a quantum computer specific script that would, give you a possible or give you the one private key that would give you access to my wallet's contents, something like that, right? There's so much speculation in this space, and of course, you know more about this than possibly anyone, right? Since that's what your main focus is in Coranium.
What are your thoughts on that?
What are my thoughts on the quantum threat being real? I agree. The quantum threat is real. I agree. No, my response, of course, will be biased, right, on this topic. So I would reserve a response to that statement, because, of course, my answer is yes, building uranium. That's the entire reason. My response is going to be biased. So I'm not going to respond to that, apart from the fact that, yes, the quantum threat is real. Yeah. And the cryptocurrencies are not safe. Switch to uranium. It's a quantum secure layer 1. So I'm just going to say that.
Just so you know, just throwing it out there.
That's it. I'm not saying anything else.
But his story about how he got into the blockchain space to begin with,
he was a very interesting, he's a very interesting person. From building robots to building blockchains, such an intelligent guy.
Very.
Such an intelligent guy. And I remember his personal side of how intelligent he is about his awareness about the world when we went trekking with him. It was right before the episode.
Yeah, you guys went out to the Swiss Alps and had a big trek out in nature.
And
was it 5 hours? How long?
Yeah, 5 to 6 hours.
Oh gosh.
And with Christian, with Henrik, we are going to talk about next. And the conversations we had during those 5 to 6 hours, which was like a merger of business strategies and, world awareness, and which results in, creating the right business strategies, to the philosophical alignment, and we touched upon some religious aspects as well, just to kind of connecting all of these pieces together. So that's when I got to understand about his personal journey as well, and how intelligent he is in terms of the depth he has about various issues and various subjects that surrounds us. And really, really fun guy. But being so scientifically intelligent, You can spend like hours and hours with him, and he will always have interesting point of views on various topics.
And a great sense of humor.
And a great sense of humor, yes, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, marrying that techie side, right, with a really interesting personality. I think, yeah, it made for a really good episode with a lot of very valuable points.
Yes.
So thank you, Christian, for taking out the time. We're gonna have to move on to Mr. Henrik von Scheel. I think it might have been one of the best conversations throughout the whole season. Although all of these conversations were great, this was a more intimate one-on-one between Henrik and you, Kapil. What are your thoughts?
I think the discussion with Henrik was the most intellectually enriching discussion in this season. Like, hands down, I would say that. The entire 1 hour, we didn't realize, by the way, I think we kept on talking for good 1.5, 2 hours. The ultimate episode has, I don't know how long, the final episode that has come out with, but because we spoke about so many things, none of us realized that how much time we had been talking about, because we were like sketching ideas, talking about strategies, the way he structures things, the way he structures. So he's like, of course, he has achieved a lot academically, but he loves doing strategy, and he loves discussing strategic initiatives. He's worked with big corporates, big brands, startups. He's doing a lot in the space. And when you speak with him, that shines. The way he puts things together and the way he will connect the dots to create an amazing strategy about any project or any idea, it's mind-blowing.
The way that he connects the dots. So he's the originator of Industry 4.0, which essentially is, like, and he explained it in his episode so beautifully, a bunch of mega trends coming together to kind of create these big four trends that will kind of set the trajectory in terms of emerging tech. Super complex to look at how that actually was like put together. You read his book as well, and you get to see the way that he maps things out in diagrams and all kinds of things. So very admirable mind from my perspective. He said, there's two things that he said. Skill first, passion follows.
The biggest lie we have today with our youth, we're telling them to follow their passion. What is passion? I'm asking you, Kapil.
Something I think it sits between can and want.
Yes. Passion is an emotion. What is an emotion? An emotion comes and goes like the wind. Right? You need to build first skills. You need to learn some new skills, new abilities, right? If you like sports, that's good. If you like being creative by playing, right? So if you like an instrument, it's not that you are just musical, right? You can see things, you can hear things differently, right? You have a creative element to it. That creative element you can export to food. You can export to many things. You can be a creative cook, right? So I'm saying is that we should teach our youth to play piano, to learn to cook food, to learn to do sports, to learn to all of this. Within building skills, they get passion.
Yeah, that was a very interesting way, the way he put it, because usually it's a common thing that follow your passion, follow your heart, and he had a completely reverse point of view on that. Craft a skill. And then when you start doing what you're skilled at, that automatically becomes fun, and it bears fruit eventually. Like, I may be passionate about music, but I don't even know anything about music for that matter, but I'm passionate about music. And I try to become a musician. What am I going to achieve? Unless I start becoming skilled at that. I learn how to write songs. I learn how to mix master. I learn how to play an instrument. And then when I follow, so eventually then what I'm following is not just my passion, I'm actually following what I'm really skilled at. So his point is about putting a lot of emphasis in developing skills, focusing on developing the skill set and not just following the emotions of being passionate about something. Because you're passionate about something, but if you're not skilled at that, you're never going to succeed. Right? And that was such a beautiful way of putting it out, right? Because the most common thing that we always hear is follow your heart, follow your passion. No, get skilled and then follow and do what you're really skilled at. Or if you're passionate about something, first develop all the required skills for that and then follow your passion. Because now when you're following your passion, you're also skilled at that and then you're going to enjoy the journey. So totally agree with it. And that's his usual style, about anything. When I remember whenever I sit with him and let's say we talk about quantum security, blockchain, he will always have a different or rather out of the box way of thinking of how do we connect these pieces. How do we make it global?
He flips things around. He has these frameworks, and then he starts to flip things so that you're like, oh wait, so in chronological order from a time frame perspective, this is what's going to play out. And then he's like, but look, if we look up here, we flip the framework, then this is actually what's happening. I really loved sitting and watch him map different things out after the podcast episode as well when we spent some time with him.
Yeah, totally. And I think a lot of it, because he's a professor, right? The way he puts it. So one is having a clarity of thought process, and the second is explaining it in a way that makes so much sense that you understand it, right? And many of the things that he studies, that he practices, that he's knowledgeable of are so hyper technical, so complex, but his ability to break it apart and present it in a simplified way that you understand, that's beautiful. Right? So like I can spend hours with him without realizing, because every time it's like, okay, this new idea, this new strategy, and I'm like, okay, really? But even better is the way he puts it. Right? The way he would explain, like you can comprehend it. So I think it was like the most intellectually enriching episode of this season, like hands down. I can say that. So anybody who's up for going down a trip where your brain will have to be active throughout, nothing else but like focused technical and strategic stuff about business, watch this episode.
Yeah, strategic rabbit hole.
yeah, completely.
Yeah. All right. Well, that, pretty much sums up, the 8 guests that we had.
That's it?
Actually, unfortunately, would love to sit here. I know I was going to, pull another one of Henrik's wise statements, but I'm thinking that we should move forward and see what the future holds for Quantum Minds. Could you share a little bit, a little sneaky peek on what the future holds for this podcast?
Well, before talking about the future, first of all, I want to thank all the listeners, everybody who supported the podcast, starting with the guests. You took out your precious time, you came on the show, shared your insights, and really added so much value to everybody who watched the episodes. And thank you to the listeners who again took out their precious time, and we hope we have been able to add a lot of value to the time that you gave us. We take it very seriously. It's the most important thing for us, that we invite guests and we create content that adds a lot of value to your life. You learn something, it enriches you, and it creates a big delta for the way you spend your life after you start watching the episodes. So that's the purpose why we started Quantum Minds podcast. I wanted it to become a platform where you can come to learn something, to add value to your life, right? So that's the foundation of Quantum Minds. So once again, thank you so much for supporting us in this journey. And this is a journey that will continue. Season 1 was the beginning of creating this foundational platform where people from all walks of life can come and derive value from. And the next step in this direction will be season 2. We are working on a plan to come up with season 2 of the podcast in this year, bringing in more guests for you from around the world, world leaders, and diving deeper into the way they build their life, the way they build their business, and this time also trying to understand what makes them uncrackable. So we'll be having, some very interesting segments. So season 2 of podcast will be kickstarting soon, and I would love to invite all of you to continue this journey with us, and we really hope that we continue to add a lot of value in your life from our season 2 as well.
Amazing, Kapil. Thank you for that. Is there anything beyond what we've touched on that you would like to, like any final remarks before we close this season up?
Like, comment, share, subscribe.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from that, no, I don't think so. It has been a very rewarding experience for me personally as well. Through these guests, spending time with them, so much value gets added, to us as hosts.
Yeah.
When we get the opportunity to sit with them, I think it's remarkable. And we were having this conversation of how after every episode, it leaves a mark on you. When you get the opportunity to spend time with these remarkable leaders. So I'm also very grateful that I got this opportunity to spend time with these amazing people, and I continue to look forward to having these amazing conversations with the guests that we're going to have in our season 2. So really excited for that. What do you think? How's your journey been for season 1?
Oh, I just love the diversity of the guests.
Yes.
Such a, they all have common denominators, right? They are, innovators, they're change makers, they think outside the box, like Mark Terell says, that they flip different concepts, like Henrik often does, when we speak to him. There's a lot of in-depth industry knowledge as well that I feel like I acquired through these conversations. That was super, super valuable. And then also just like from a relationship standpoint, like getting to know them, like up and close personally, was a genuine pleasure, honestly, to have spent an hour really getting to know who they are at the core, what their mindset is around the way that they navigate their life, but also how they navigate in business. Yeah. So marrying a lot of different elements of substance in these conversations has definitely enriched my perspective. So I really, really enjoyed these conversations, and I'm super excited for this next season.
Amazing. So stay tuned with us. We are going to ensure that we come to you with the best content, and we'll always try to add value to your life. See you soon in season 2 of Quantum Minds. This is Kapil Dhiman and Olivia Karlsson signing off with season 1 of Quantum Minds. Thank you.